everyone, I'm Katime Spandong, and in this video, I will be discussing about all the things that I've learned in Educ 2 subject taken last semester. So let's start about learner-centered theories of learning. So in this topic, I learned that once we become more aware of learning theories, we can begin to understand the process of learning, understand our beliefs about learning, and challenge our assumptions about the methods and methodologies of learning. So these theories have a big influence on how we learn and how our education is structured. Next is the child, adolescence, and adult learning. And in this topic, I learned a great deal. It taught me to take into consideration that every child comes from a different environment and biological makeup, and therefore each child will differ developmentally. And when I do come across these students in my future class who do not contain the characteristics of a normal developing child, I can refer back to the knowledge I've gained. I will refer back to Piaget's and Vygotsky theories in particular to try to relate with these students and possibly make accommodations for their learning in my classroom. So if their case is severe, I will recognize the need to have their cognitive and socio-emotional development diagnosed so they can receive this proper education for their circumstance. Furthermore, it served to be one of the most useful for me, and I am thankful for the knowledge that I take away from it. By understanding the child and adolescent's development, we can make the most appropriate decisions possible about expectations for students, how to be best have students engage with the material, and how with the material, how to push students to grow academically, emotionally, and socially. So next is the declarative, procedural, and functional knowledge. So in this topic, I learned that declarative knowledge is knowledge about facts and things, knowledge that something is the case, and procedural knowledge is knowledge about how to perform certain cognitive activities such as reasoning, decision making, and problem solving. And also, functional knowledge is the knowledge that can be included in different domains. For example, financial processes, order to cash processes, and procedure to pay processes. Next is concept of individual differences in learning. So in this topic, I learned that individual differences are the more or less enduring psychological characteristics that distinguish one person from another and thus help to define each person's individually. So although to study individual differences seems to be study variance, how are people different? It is also to study central tendency, how well can a person be described in terms of an overall within person average. So next is relationship of need and motivation. So in this topic, I learned that the desire to fulfill a need, whether conscious or unconsciousness, is what drives human beings to take action and make choices. So motivation is the energy of that desire. I learned also self-determination theory proposes three fundamental needs which must be met for motivation to occur. First is the First is the need for autonomy. So Dressel and Hall suggest that in facilitating students' need for autonomy, students might be encouraged to set their own learning and behavioral goals and choose the content or the process of some learning task. Second is the need for competence to assist with fostering students' need for competence. Teachers should provide clear, purposeful, specific, and individualized feedback. And lastly is the need for relatedness. To facilitate the need for relatedness, teachers can ensure the inclusion of collaborative activities. So they can build a positive rapport between students and the teacher, and they can make known the that the progress of each learner is really valued by the teacher. So if there is a relationship of need and motivation, there is also problems in motivation. So I learned that students have different levels of motivation. Some are highly motivated to learn while others are not. So as a future teacher, I should consider it important for the student to be highly motivated to learn. I learned also that teachers should be able to know what motivational challenge are so they can determine how to motivate these students to learn. So next is concept of cognitive and metacognitive factors of learning in learning. So in this topic, I learned that the learning of complex subject matter is most effective when it is an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experience, and also cognitive and metacognitive factors use strategic thinking in their approach to learning, reasoning, problem solving, and concept learning. So, and lastly, the relationship of cognitive and metacognitive factors in learning. I learned that they use strategic thinking in their approach to learning, reasoning, problem solving, and concept of learning. That's what I've said earlier. So they understand and can use a variety of strategies to help them reach learning and performance goals and to apply their knowledge in novel situations. So, that's all I learned in the subject. That's all. So, which is the Educ 2 under Ma'am Princess Sortida. So, and that will be all. And thank you for watching and listening. And I hope you will learn something too in this video. And thank you and God bless.